Hello and Minglaba. Welcome to MI Reader's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. People's participation is important to prevent the second wave of COVID-19. Myanmar performs short-term and long-term economic recovery amid COVID-19. This may be good news yet for cinema goers because Myanmar Motion Picture Organization's coordination meeting is underway to reopen cinemas. A story coverage on China's aid to other countries fighting COVID-19. All these reports coming up later on Myanmar Today, but for now let's take a look at what's happening in local news. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, who's also the chairperson of the National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of Coronavirus Disease, held a video conference on Tuesday with Union Minister U Tawn, chairman of the COVID-19 Economic Relief Work Committee, Deputy Minister U Set Aun, who formulated the COVID-19 Economic Relief Plan, and U Zaw Min Win, president of UMFCCI, to discuss remedies to lessen the impacts of COVID-19 on Myanmar's economy. The State Councillor said, quote, economic matters were handled beginning from February. They had to consider how to confront, deal with, and overcome the ripple effects of COVID-19 if economic enterprises declined due to workplaces and factories having to close down. She continued by saying the issue of jobs was related to the economy. Having a job does not only mean having an income, but also relates to a person's dignity. Not having a job can lead to depression and sometimes lead to mental havoc. That was why they were taking great care to make sure that job opportunities were not affected. With regard to efforts for remedying the economic impact of COVID-19 disease, the Union government established a committee on 13th of March to remedy the economic impact of COVID. This committee established a 100 billion Jats fund to support and assist garment manufacturing enterprises, hotels and tourism enterprises, and MSMEs, the three main enterprises who had suffered the most from economic impacts. Loans were given to enterprises owned by Myanmar nationals with 1% interest beginning from the end of the Thinjan period and up to this date. A total of 3,000 enterprises had been given loans up to a total of more than 86 billion Jats. In assessing the loan applications, representatives from ministries and representatives from UMFCCI and the Myanmar Institute of Chartered Public Accountants participated in the assessment and disbursement of loans. Exports of finished industrial goods by public sector sharply plunged to $2.4 billion between the 1st of October and 5th of June in the current fiscal year 2019 to 2020, which is a decrease of $388.79 million compared to the corresponding period of the previous financial year, according to the Ministry of Commerce. At present, some CMP garment factories have shut down on the reason for the lack of raw materials due to the coronavirus negative impacts, leaving thousands of workers unemployed. Even worse, some foreign entrepreneurs are also running away from their businesses. Those factories without official notification of closure will be inspected by a ground field inspection team. And DICA Director General U Tan Sin Luin said the factory operators can face legal actions under the Myanmar investment law if they fail to comply with notification requirements for the closure of factories. Investors prefer to invest in countries with inexpensive and relatively well-educated labor, such as Myanmar, along with some tariff exemptions and FDI incentives. However, the country has other disadvantages such as electricity shortages, high transport and communication costs, and administrative red tape. With more than 6 million motorcyclists registered in Road Transport Administration Department across the country, people are not very much willing to buy the insurance premium for their motorbikes, according to the Global World Insurance. The Global World Insurance is giving the compensation for the motorbikes on 16th of June in Bahosi Housing Compound in Warden Street in Yangon. At the compensation giving ceremony, Medical Action Myanmar purchased damage insurance premium for their 125 Canbo motorbikes last year. In May 2019, they lost their motorbikes in Manao grounds in Putao Town, Kachin State. After an investigation, the Global World Insurance gave compensation to the INGO, which amounted to 850,000 Jats regarding the premiums of the motorbike's insurance. A motorbike worth 500,000 Jats will cost a premium of 30,000 Jats, while a motorbike worth 1 million Jats will cost 60,000 Jats. 2 men were arrested for possessing illegal drugs near the Sanlu Jawpart Village Forest Path in Tachi Lake Township, Eastern Shan State on 14th of June. Police had pulled over a car driven by a man identified as Li Jia at 2:45 a.m. and was searching his car when another vehicle drove up behind the first one and stopped midway as the driver named Japu fled the scene. Police arrested the other man in the second vehicle, named Manapu, after discovering 6,502,000 psychotropic tablets worth an estimated 9,700 million jats inside. A case has been opened against the suspects under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Law, according to the Myanmar Police Force. An official of Myanmar Railways said the organization will expand its service for Yangon Circular Railway and other rail lines. Myanmar Railways will start running the new schedule from 16th of June to contain the spread of infectious disease and ensure the physical distancing of the commuters, with more schedules added for Yangon Circular Railway and other rail lines. The expansion plan includes Yangon to Mandalay number 5 and 6 up and down trains with the departure at 3 p.m. and arrival at 7:30 a.m., stopping at Bago, Tanghu, Piemana, Nepido, and Tazi stations. That's all with the local news. Let's take a look at the first report now. The second wave of the COVID-19 infections has begun in China, and most of the returnees are tested positive. The government extends the restrictions to 30th of June. The number of COVID-19 confirmed cases reported in Myanmar has reached 262, with 6 deaths and 169 recovered, according to the latest figures released by the Health and Sports Ministry. Pomo and Soirana will tell us more.
The number of COVID-19 confirmed cases reported in Myanmar has reached 262, with 6 deaths and 179 recoveries, according to the latest figure released by the Ministry of Health and Sport. Yangon City appeared to have returned to normal with usual traffic congestion and the reopening of restaurants in line with the measure designed to prevent the spread of COVID-19, but the existing restrictions have been further extended at the end of June. Restriction on international flights to and from Yangon International Airport had been further extended to 30 June from 15 June. Speaking to MR Radio about the extension and action of the government through phone interview, Dr. Mate, regional representative from Lang Township, said.
The government extended the restrictions to 30 June because the cases are up to over 260, but most of the cases are from overseas returnees, not from the local transmissions, so we can take some serious actions to the people. People really need to follow some guidelines to prevent the spread of COVID-19 as a second wave by taking an example to our neighboring country, China. In Lang Township, most of the people follow the rules except from the markets like Tiri Mingala and Sampia fish markets. We are going to provide an education to them about the infections. There are still quarantined people in the quarantine centers. Some infected patients are tested at the FIBA clinic.
Since the second wave of the COVID-19 infection have begun in China and most of the returnees are tested positive, so the government extends the restriction. The National Level Central Committee for Prevention, Control and Treatment of COVID-19 extended temporary measures, including compulsory wearing of face masks in public, semi-lockdown at Insane Township, and gathering of 5% or more with exemption. With regard to the viral infection in the country, Dr. Tan Nai So, Director of Health Knowledge Promotion Division from the Ministry of Health and Sport, said.
Second wave
Most of the infection cases can come with the second wave or the third wave. The second wave mostly comes after the first wave is completely finished. But the second wave infection is important depending on that it can be more serious than the first wave, especially it comes from the people who don't show the symptoms of COVID-19. That's why the participation of the people is important. For our country, we haven't seen the local transmissions except from the border gates for about 1 month. We will have to watch the second wave outbreak carefully.
ကြုံဒီမှာကြုံနေကြုံခဲ့ပြန်ရင်လည်းတကယ်ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကတကယ် wave လေးကခုနကျွန်တော်ပထမ wave လောက်တော့မကြီးရဲ့ဒုတိယ wave လေးကိုနေဆိုင်ရမှာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
U Teng Te from Srivita Township spoke to Myanmar Radio about his opinion on the extension of the restriction as to the COVID-19. He said,
People are afraid of the infections at first, but when the COVID is familiar with us, they start to be careless about it. Some don't even wear masks and don't follow social distancing guidelines. It is very important to us. As the local transmission is fewer than before, I'm happy with it. But we have to care about the local transmission. We can't know when the outbreaks will come back. We can look at China as an example. The second wave started in their country. We have to prepare and protect ourselves for the second wave even though the first wave doesn't hurt as much. In our office, I warn the staffs to wash hands properly and wear masks. I'm really pleased with the actions of the government, but I want the people who don't follow the rules to be fined.
From 16 May to 15 June, a total of 77 Myanmar citizens who have returned from foreign countries have tested positive for COVID-19, according to the Ministry of Health and Sport. These comprise 45 returnees from India, Malaysia, the UAE, Bangladesh, Thailand, Italy, and China. The global pandemic has spread to 188 countries, killing over 439,000 and afflicting over 8,142,000 people, according to the Worldometer Coronavirus Resource Center.
Let's not forget people's participation is important to prevent the second wave of COVID-19. All right, we'll move on to the next report. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi hosted the video conference under the focus to remedy of the economic impacts caused by COVID-19 on Tuesday. The State Councillor also mentioned taking into account both short-term and long-term plans for economic recovery. Donna Suzin has more.
According to the World Bank, most of the countries are to be buffeted by the global pandemic, COVID-19, and that leads to the deep recessions resulting in lower investment and erosion of human capital through loss of work and schooling and downturn of global trade and supply linkages. The World Bank suggests the need for urgent action to erase the health and economic consequences to protect vulnerable populations and set the stage for a lasting recovery. In Myanmar, the government has already released and established the contingency plans to remedy economic impasse. State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, at the regular video conferencing, stressed that it is necessary for the country to perform both immediate plan and long-term plan to remedy the economic impasse caused by the COVID-19 as well as for the sustainability and recovery of the country's economy.
Starting from February, we consider the economic impacts caused by COVID-19 within the country, as well as border trade with neighboring countries such as China and Thailand. Amid COVID-19, after health sector, economy is the most critical issue. To provide proper health care to the public, the country needs to be developed with a strong economy. Moreover, it is important to make sure to provide efficient employment for the public.
The State Councillor discussed with the participants U Dang Thun, Union Minister for Investment and Foreign Economic Relations, U Sa Aung, Deputy Minister for Planning, Finance and Industry, and U Zom Min Win, President of Union of Myanmar Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, UMFCCI.
The Committee to Remedy the Economic Impacts Caused by the COVID-19 raised 100 billion jets fund to provide assistance to garment industry, hotel and tourism, and MSMEs, which are severely affected sectors. Over 3,000 businesses have already been provided with 86 billion jets loan with lower interest. From international organizations, $1.25 billion loan is accepted. Taxes are reduced or given exemption. The interest rate for loan from the Central Bank of Myanmar is lowered.
The State Councillor mentioned to spend the receipt loan from international communities effectively and to spare for the future economic remedies. According to Union Minister U Dang-tun, Myanmar Investment Commission is expecting to approve $5.8 billion foreign investment for 2019-2020 fiscal years. And after 8 months of fiscal years, till May, $4.39 billion was already approved, and it created over 168,000 job opportunities. For the immediate recovery of economy, the COVID-19 Economic Relief Plan (CERP) was launched.
In CERP, it mainly includes immediate plans in detail. The detailed plans are distributed to responsive ministries, including time frame. This plan covers all levels of business and public. CERP stated to utilize the maximum 10% of 2019 to 2020 fiscal year's budget by each ministry. Approximately 6.6% of budget is being used at present.
The CERP is linked with Myanmar Sustainability Development Plan (MSDP), and to cover the linkage of the short-term and long-term plans, the Economic Recovery Plan is being drafted. According to Uzo Mingwin, UMFCCI has formed a task force to provide assistance in ground situation during COVID-19 outbreak. Not only local workers are affected, but the migrant workers from overseas are also returning back to Myanmar because of unemployment.
We want to utilize the skillful overseas workers coming back home. If the economy of the foreign country is stable, some want to go back and work abroad, but some want to stay here and work for the country. Among who stay here, we can have many skillful employees. Economy is to ensure the safety and living of the citizens. The participation of the private sector is also important. The government and the private sector can collaborate since we are moving forward under the aim of economy recovery and sustainability.
Amid COVID-19, digitalization in Myanmar has eminently improved. Digital platforms and e-commerce has become wider in range. That's all about the performances of the government to remedy the economic impacts caused by COVID-19. This is Dora Swison from My Radio.
That's a report on Myanmar to perform short-term and long-term economic recovery amid COVID-19. And we have another report on plans to reopen cinemas coming up. Stay tuned. The Myanmar government announced last Friday that restrictions on public gathering have been extended until the end of June, with the continual observance of social distancing. With the partial opening of restaurants, shops, gyms, public parks, and etc., cinemas, which are a business of entertainment, are not yet allowed to operate. As soon as the government allows the reopening of the cinemas, Myanmar Motion Picture Organization is going to discuss how the shows will be displayed with what sort of system during next week. Pyo Thiritu will tell us more.
Since the 16th of March, all the cinemas across the country have been temporarily shut down, and the closure of the cinemas has been for 3 months in the wake of COVID-19 alert. The Myanmar government announced last Friday that the restrictions on public gathering have been extended until the end of June, with the continual observance of social distancing. With the partial opening of restaurants, shops, public parks, and some others, cinemas which are a business of entertainment are not yet allowed to operate. Speaking to My Radio about the preparation to get ready as soon as the government allows the cinemas to reopen, U Nyi Tonle, chairman of Myanmar Motion Picture Organization, said,
At the last film coordination meeting, we discussed and agreed that film will be shown in serial order from where it temporarily stops. The average showtime for a film takes a week normally, but while arranging the seats in line with the safe social distancing, it is not much easy to get even a third of regular income of a film, and the producers can't even get enough for their films. So we have to consider if the showtime for a film is increased and many films are waiting to be shown at the same time. If the government allows reopening the cinemas, we are going to discuss how the show will be displayed with what sort of system during next week. We've heard that the theater owners are also discussing with the Ministry of Health and Sports about the hair care measures to follow while screening.
Tonglin also mentioned that the government is also losing 5% revenue from past screening of the films as the cinemas are closed. Despite the first country registering a COVID-19 case outside of China in early January, Thailand has allowed its entertainment businesses to resume their services under the strict measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In some countries, the cinemas are recommended to reopen with limited capacity, temperature checking, arranging the seats in line with safe social distancing, disinfection, and etc. Speaking to Myanmar Radio about the struggles of the cinema chains, U Luemo, who is a former film star and now the president of Paradiso Cinemas, said,
We don't have any exact recommendations or solution for reopening of the cinemas till now. We have made some staff reduction also. Over 30 Paradiso cinemas started launching in 20 various cities across the country in February. But soon the cinema were closed to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Since then, we have kept our maintenance of the cinemas once or twice a week with the rest of the staff. As for health, we are instructed to stay away 2 meters, social distancing rule. So we are calculating the numbers of seats in the theaters, arranging with the safe distance. Only 16 to 18% of the seats will be occupied with the audience. A cinema needs at least 30% audience of the seats so it can stand with income. Under 30% of audience, it is difficult to run cinemas for long. It means the cinemas are less possible to stand economically with this situation for long.
Regardless of reopening the cinemas, the film critics have reviewed that it will take some time for moviegoers to be comfortable visiting the cinemas. In some countries like US and Germany, the drive-in cinemas have stayed open. Even the global pandemic has forced the closure of the cinemas around the world. The drive-in cinemas are booming again among moviegoers experiencing huge screen at a safe distance from others. Meanwhile, Myanmar is starting to set the free movement of people, but have enforced on strict social distancing rules in an effort to prevent a second wave of infections. I am Pyothi Ritu. This is news reporting from Myanmar Radio.
Well, that's a report on Myanmar Motion Picture Organization's coordination meeting that's underway to reopen cinemas. After it had significantly controlled the virus outbreak within the country, China beefed up assistance measures to other countries fighting against the pandemic. China prioritizes its aid to impoverished countries across the world, such as countries in the African Union. Agacho has more.
Since the onset of the COVID-19 outbreak, China has been assisting countries in need and the international organizations with the necessary equipment, medical workers, and monetary contribution. China believes that fighting pandemic is a global emergency, entailing the collaborative effort amongst the countries. After it has significantly controlled the virus outbreak within the country, China beefed up assistance measures to other countries fighting against the pandemic. China prioritizes its aid to impoverished countries across the world, such as those in the African Union. Masaji Newin from China Media Group, CRI Myanmar Department, explained more on the aid China sends to other countries.
တရုတ်နိုင်ငံကဒီတခြားနိုင်ငံတွေကိုကူညီပေးနေတဲ့ဈေးတို့ဆရာဝန်တို့ထောက်ကူပစ္စည်းတွေကအခုလက်ရှိတန်မိုးပမာဏကိုပြောရမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဇွန်လ9ရက်နေ့ကဒီထုတ်ပြန်တဲ့ပေါ့နော် COVID-19 တိုက်ဖြတ်ရေးဆိုင်ရာဒီစက်ကူပြူစာတမ်းအရဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မေလ31ရက်နေ့အထိကိုတရုတ်နိုင်ငံကနေပြီးတော့နိုင်ငံ28နိုင်ငံကိုဆေးကုပညာရှင်အဖွဲ့ပေါ့နော်29ဘွဲကိုဆေးလွတ်ခဲ့တယ်နိုင်ငံ150နဲ့နိုင်ငံတကာအဖွဲ့အစည်း4ခုကိုလည်းထောက်ပံ့ကူညီမှုတွေပို့ပေးခဲ့တယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကကြတော့ဒီကမ္ဘာ့ကျန်းမာရေးအဖွဲ့ကိုပေါ့နော်အမေရိကန်ဒေါ်လာတန်း90ကူညီပံ့ပိုးပေးခဲ့တယ်နောက်မတ်လ1ရက်နေ့ကနေပြီးတော့မေလ31ရက်နေ့အထိကိုပေါ့နော်တရုတ်နိုင်ငံကနေပြီးတော့နိုင်ငံတကာကိုကုသရောဂါကာကွယ်ရေးပစ္စည်းတွေကိုတင်ပို့ပေးတဲ့နေရာမှာနှာခေါင်းစည်းကကြတော့80.6ဘီလီယံအကာအင်ဂျီကတန်း300ကျော်အကာမျက်မှန်ကတန်း100ကျော်အသက်ရှူဆက်ကအလုံးပေါင်း9000ခွဲကျော်ပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုတိုင်းတာစမ်းသက်တဲ့ဆေးက225သန်းကိုပူချိန်တိုင်းတာဆက်ကကြတော့40.29သန်းကူညီပံ့ပိုးပေးခဲ့ပါတယ်အခုဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တရုတ်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့ပေါ့နော်နိုင်ငံတကာမိသားစုကြီးကိုယောဂတိုက်ဖြတ်ရေးဆိုင်ရာအတွေ့အကြုံတွေနီလန်းတွေနောက်ကာကွယ်ရေးပစ္စည်းတွေစေဘက်ဆိုင်ရာဝန်ထမ်းတွေကိုဆွလွတ်တာတွေကိုလက်ရှိအချိန်ထိမှာဆောင်ရွက်လျက်ရှိပါတယ်ဒီပေါ်မှာနိုင်ငံတကာမိသားစုကြီးကလည်းကျေးဇူးတင်ရှိသလိုတရုတ်နိုင်ငံရဲ့အတွေ့အကြုံတွေကိုပေါ့နော်နမူနာယူပြီးတော့ယောဂတိုက်ဖြတ်တဲ့နေရာမှာရလက်ကောင်းတွေရရှိတဲ့အတွက်ချီးကျူးမှုတွေလည်းရရှိနေပါတယ်ဒီလိုကုသယောဂတိုက်ပွဲကြီးကိုဒီလိုနိုင်ငံတကာနဲ့ပေါ့နော်လက်တွဲရင်ဆိုင်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မို့လို့တရုတ်နဲ့နိုင်ငံတကာဆက်ဆံရေးကပို့ပြီးတော့ယဉ်နှိပွင့်လင်းပြီးတော့ပို့ပြီးတိုးတက်လာမယ်လို့ယူဆမိပါတယ်ရှင်
Last week, Kenya's Ministry of Health has received medical supplies worth over 700,000 US dollars from China. The supplies are a donation from the Department of Commerce of Hunan Province, the Hunan Road and Bridge Construction Group, and the Kenya Chinese Chamber of Commerce. Confirmed COVID-19 cases have exceeded 8 million globally, with over 435,000 fatalities and more than 3.8 million recoveries. That is according to the latest tally from Johns Hopkins University. The Chinese mainland has recorded 83,221 COVID-19 cases so far, of which 1,845 are inbound cases. A total of 110 asymptomatic patients are under medical observation. China's death toll stands at 4,645. Beijing reported 27 new domestically transmitted COVID-19 cases on Sunday. The new cluster of infections is linked to Xinfadi, the biggest wholesale farm-produce market in Asia, located in Beijing's southern Fangtai district. The U.S. has recorded over 2.1 million confirmed cases as of Sunday, with a death toll of over 116,000. More EU countries like France and Italy are easing coronavirus border restrictions. This is Agajo reporting for Myanmar International Radio.
That's all we have for today's reports, and here are the international news on Myanmar Today. Confirmed COVID-19 cases have exceeded 8.1 million globally, with over 440,000 fatalities and more than 3.9 million recoveries, according to the latest tally from Johns Hopkins University. The Chinese mainland recorded 83,265 COVID-19 cases so far, of which 1,856 are imported cases. A total of 106 asymptomatic patients are under medical observation. China's death toll stands at 4,645. Beijing said on Wednesday that 31 new domestically transmitted COVID-19 cases were found in the past 24 hours. There are now a total of 137 local infections in 6 days linked to a wholesale food market located in southern Beijing's Fengtai district. The U.S. has recorded over 2.1 million confirmed cases as of Sunday, with a death toll of over 116,000. The U.S. said on Tuesday that non-essential travel restrictions with Canada and Mexico will be extended. A total of 369 households in Berlin-Borough in Germany were placed under quarantine after 57 people testing positive. After weeks of pressure following the death of George Floyd, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Tuesday to reform police departments. The order creates an incentive for local police departments to update training materials that do not rely on use of force. Departments that seek out external certifications have a better chance of being awarded federal grants. Police departments will also be able to share information on officer complaints more easily to prevent disciplined or terminated officers from seeking jobs in other nearby localities.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order on police reform amid nationwide protests over the deaths of George Floyd and several other black Americans. And Trump said that Tuesday's order will set standards on the use of force. It focuses on three areas: certifying police officers, boosting information sharing to track use of excessive force, and creating programs on mental health and drug addiction. And it also bans chokeholds, except when an officer's life is at risk. But critics, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, criticized the changes.
In other news, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea said on Wednesday it has rejected the Republic of Korea's offer to send special envoys and vowed to send troops back to its border with ROK in the latest step towards nullifying inter-Korean peace accords. The announcements made by state media agency KCNA came one day after the DPRK blew up a joint liaison office set up in a border town as part of a 2018 agreement by the two countries' leaders as tensions flare over propaganda leaflets sent by defector groups into the DPRK. KCNA confirmed that the liaison office was completely ruined shortly after.
The relevant department has moved to completely destroy the North-South Liaison Office in the Kaesong Industrial Zone. This comes in the wake of cutting off all communication lines between the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and South Korea.
The office served as an unofficial embassy, where meetings were held to discuss cross-border matters. But when the US-DPRK summit in Hanoi fell apart without an agreement, activity at the office waned. And when the coronavirus pandemic hit earlier this year, the office was shut down. South Korea is not backing down from the DPRK's latest move.
We are making clear that the North is entirely responsible for all the consequences this might cause.
The demolition did not come entirely as a surprise. DPRK state media, quoting Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, forewarning the South just 3 days prior. And with tensions on the Korean peninsula rising, neighboring countries are calling for restraint.
The DPRK and South Korea are of the same people. As a close neighbor, China has always hoped for the Korean peninsula to maintain peace and stability.
It's unknown where inter-Korean relations will head from this point forward. But most experts agree a period of heightened tensions may loom over the Korean peninsula for the foreseeable future.
What looks like a regular food stand in Thailand is serving meals cooked by world-class chefs, and it's all for free. They're volunteers for COVID Thailand Aid, a group dedicated to helping those hit hard by the coronavirus. They're focusing on maids, street vendors, or shop assistants who haven't worked since the nationwide lockdown. Natalie Bin Naprasad is one of the founders.
The original idea was my grandma. She's 94 years old, and then I really worried about her during COVID. Like, how is she going to cope and do things? So I just thought about all the people who are struggling during this time, who might not even have a family or a home.
Universal Studios said on Monday it expects to resume production in early July on Jurassic World: Dominion as Hollywood begins to emerge from a 3-month coronavirus shutdown. Universal said it plans to get shooting on the movie underway at Pinewood Studios in England on July 6th under stringent protocols for the cast and crew to contain the spread of the coronavirus. It will be one of the first major movies to restart work after filming on James Cameron's Avatar sequel for 20th Century Studios resumed in New Zealand on Monday. Producer John Landau and the cast and crew ended the 2 weeks in quarantine after their return to the country, which has said it is now free of the virus. Well, that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you again. Goodbye.